The moment Devin Haney spoke, it wasn't loud, flashy, or reckless, but it carried weight. It sounded like a man who knew exactly where he stood in the sport and understood the power of patience. He talked about discipline, about numbers, about sitting down with his team and deciding what made sense. Yet beneath that calm surface was something unmistakable. A challenge had been issued, and Haney wasn't dodging it. He was inviting it. The gate did well, the numbers did well, and in his mind, the proof was already there. People show up for him. They pay to see him. And when someone wants his name, the price of admission is simple. Send the contract. That single phrase became the heartbeat of the conversation. Send the contract. Not a threat screamed into the void, not a social media stunt, but a cold, professional demand. Haney had heard the noise before. He had seen fighters talk big without ever following through. He made it clear that talk meant nothing without paper. If it made sense, it made sense. If it didn't, then it was just another voice trying to borrow relevance. Still, the tension was impossible to ignore, because this wasn't coming from just anyone. This was Keyshawn Davis, a fighter whose name had been orbiting Haney's for years, quietly at first, then louder, sharper, more confrontational. Their rivalry didn't start with insults. It started with silence. Years ago, when they were younger, when names like Shakur Stevenson connected circles and gyms, Keyshawn remembered being around Devin and his father, Bill Haney. He remembered the basketball games, the shared spaces, the moments before fame hardened personalities. And what stuck with him wasn't trash talk or confrontation. It was being ignored. Not being looked in the eye. Not being acknowledged. Shakur would vouch for him, speak highly of him, but the response never changed. To Devin and Bill, Keyshawn was still just a kid. That lack of respect planted something deep, something that grew as Keyshawn's career unfolded and his predictions came true. Everything Shakur said he would be, he became, and then some. As Keyshawn matured into his professional career, that resentment sharpened. He watched Haney rise, watched the machine move smoothly around him, watched opportunities line up. Then came the Ryan Garcia fight, the chaos that followed, the accusations, the fallout. For Keyshawn, it was more than boxing politics. It was personal. He didn't mince words when asked how he felt about it. He spoke about steroids, about excuses, about softness. In his eyes, Haney had been protected his whole life, guided carefully, shielded from real consequence. And when the first real loss came, Keyshawn believed Haney didn't know how to accept it. Lawsuits, explanations, deflections. To Keyshawn, it all sounded like weakness. That honesty, raw and unfiltered, poured gasoline on a fire that had been smoldering for years. It wasn't just two fighters circling each other anymore. It was pride against pride, perception against legacy. Haney, the polished champion with a flawless resume, versus Keyshawn Davis, the hungry aggressor who believed respect had been withheld and now had to be taken by force. Every interview, every clip, every reaction only pushed the narrative further. Fans weren't just asking if the fight would happen. They were asking who really wanted it. Keyshawn's performance against Jermaine Ortiz only amplified that question. On a big stage, against a fighter known for spoiling nights and stealing rounds, Davis didn't just win. He imposed himself. From the opening bell, he controlled the pace, never allowing Ortiz to settle into the rhythm he needed. The pressure was constant, suffocating. Jabs snapped to the body, hooks dug in, uppercuts split the guard. Ortiz tried to survive, tried to adjust, but Davis never gave him the space. By the championship rounds, the story was already written. The body shots piled up, the resistance faded, and when the knockout came late, it felt inevitable. Davis hadn't just beaten Ortiz. He had closed the show. Analysts took notice immediately. They talked about discipline, about the game plan, about how difficult Ortiz is when he's allowed to breathe. They acknowledged that if Davis hadn't gotten the stoppage, there might have been room for critique. But he did get it, and that mattered. Closing strong on a big stage separates prospects from stars. It showed that Davis could carry pressure, maintain focus, and finish when it counted. More importantly, it showed that he was ready for bigger names. And there was no name bigger in his sights than Devin Haney. Shakur Stevenson added another layer to the conversation, speaking openly about preparation and brotherhood. Training with someone at that level, having access to elite sparring and shared knowledge, creates an advantage that outsiders can't replicate. It's not unfair, he said, but it is real. When fighters like Davis go into the ring, they aren't just representing themselves. They're carrying the work of a tight-knit circle that sharpens each other constantly. That confidence, that preparation, showed in the way Davis fought Ortiz. It wasn't reckless aggression. It was calculated pressure. Others weighed in too, offering perspective shaped by time in the game. Some recalled how Davis had called out Haney years earlier, back when he was still 5-0, when experience hadn't yet caught up with ambition. Seasoning matters in boxing. Timing matters. Calling out the wrong name too early can stall a career just as easily as it can ignite one. But now, that argument felt outdated. Both men had been in the sport long enough. Both had faced elite competition. Both had grown into their identities. Whatever doubts once existed about readiness were fading fast. The question shifted from if to when, and then to how. Weight became a talking point. So did divisions, belts, and the modern boxing landscape where championships still matter, but star power often matters more. At 147 pounds, the possibilities multiply. Big names moving up don't crowd the division. They create opportunity. They force everyone to scan the field, to look for challenges that elevate careers. In that environment, a Haney versus Davis fight doesn't just make sense. It stands out. Numbers began to circulate, comparisons laid side by side. Haney's undefeated record, his years of championship experience, his height and reach advantage. Davis's knockout ratio, his physical strength, his relentless style. Analysts broke it down clinically. Haney's jab, his defense, his ability to control distance. Davis's power, his meanness, his willingness to mix it up and impose his will. Some said Haney would neutralize Davis with skill and patience. Others leaned toward Davis, drawn to his killer instinct and momentum. Even those who respected Haney deeply found themselves intrigued by Davis. Fighters and trainers spoke about his timing, how remarkable it was given the layoff and the move up in weight. They talked about his approach, how he fights like a bigger man even if his frame isn't massive. Pressure without panic. Aggression without sloppiness. Against Ortiz, he never slowed down, never gave ground, even when comfortably ahead. He pressed for the stoppage because that's who he is. Haney, for his part, didn't shy away. When he responded on social media, the message was simple and direct. Let's do it. Let's make it happen. There was no backpedaling, no dismissiveness. It was the response of a champion who understands that legacy is built on moments.